What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71. As you may notice, my hair's a little messy, and it's morning for me when I'm doing this. So I wanted to finally do the review of the final episode of Power Rangers Dino Charge, episode 20, well, of the regular season. You know, obviously there's the two specials. Anyway, episode 20, I have to tell you this much for now, was an amazing episode. Really, really good. I was very happy with what they've done, and I really was a big fan of this episode. The episode is entitled One More Energem, and it definitely means something, that title. So, you may be wondering how the episode starts. So it starts off with Sledge being on his ship with all the other, monsters and characters that we've known for a while. And the thing is that we see that Poisandra is planning on leaving the ship and leaving Sledge forever. The thing is, and this is where the title name comes into play, is the fact that Sledge is like she wants to leave because she's giving up on Sledge, because Sledge has been spending so much time searching for Energems that she wants to get married. Like, that was the original intent from episode 1. I believe we even knew that all the way back then. And she's like, I'm done. The thing is that Sledge is like, look, I've just gotten one Energem now. Give me a chance, let me get one more, and then I promise we can get married. And she is relieved, and she is hopeful. At the same time, she's not 100% certain that it's going to work out, but she's willing to give him that chance. So, as a result of this, we then see the Rangers back on Earth, discussing things, because the previous episode was discussed that they were to go up into space, obviously, and go deal with Sledge and get back the purple Energem that was taken from them by Sledge. So what happens is that the Rangers know that they need to get the purple Energem, obviously, and so they make this robot. I think it was called the Robot Get or something like that, or like the something Get robot. I forget what it's called. But the whole entire, or the Energem Get robot or something like that, and the idea was that it was supposed to have the ability to sense Energems and just be able to take them and have no issue in that regard. So obviously they made that intentionally because they were planning on bringing it into space and somehow using it to track down the purple Energem. So sounds like a reasonable enough plan, and the thing is that it seems like a good thing, and so that's all fine. Then what happens is they decide to actually bring in a ranger that we haven't seen in a good number of episodes now. I think it was like 5 episodes since we've seen him, and that ranger would be our Graphite Ranger as decides to return. So we get to see him again, which is nice to see. Prince Philip, and he's ready to fight and get involved as much as possible. In the meantime, we see that Sledge is bringing down all of his transport pods and all that stuff to bring down all sorts of Evixes, and he's even coming down. It's a whole bunch of different things going on. So all the Rangers go into the forest where they typically do their battles a lot of times before they start their major battles. It's one of the big scenes. And they end up getting frozen over in time. They all are paralyzed to the point where they can't move at all. Except for Ivan, Ivan is actually helping Miss Morgan or Kendall set up the robot that was supposed to get the purple Energem that would go get it or whatever. So the thing is that when they're frozen, we see that Sledge is ready to take the red Energem. So he does take it. He takes the red Energem from Tyler, and then Tyler falls over, and you see him on the ground. Following this, we see that we see that then Sledge was almost ready to grab the blue Energem. Thing is that Tyler ends up defending Coda. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead of stuff. What happens is that then Keeper and Sledge actually fight each other, though mainly Keeper's more on defense than on offense, while Sledge is completely on offense. And Keeper seems like he's in good shape, but the thing is that he ends up being captured anyway, and he ends up being put on one of the transport pods. Meanwhile, his scepter falls over, and then Tyler ends up trying to save Coda from having his Energem stolen, which is the blue Energem, and he uses Keeper's scepter. That's why I was confused. Anyway, that all happens. In the meantime, Kendall, seeing that Keeper was captured, decides to go in a transport pod herself, and she shows that she's able to fight. Like, she ends up knocking out one of the Vivixes and getting in the transport pod and just going along for the ride or whatever, and there's no one else in there but her, so she's fine. So that's all happening, and the Rangers don't know where she is at this point. But anyway, Sledge eventually escapes, and the monsters all escape, and the whole entire beam effect that was done on them to make them paralyzed is removed. So at that point, things are looking not so good. So as you may have guessed, Kendall's going up into space while Keeper's going up into space as well, and the Rangers then get a message from Kendall where they see her, and she says like she's in one of the pods, and they're all like freaked out because Kendall's doesn't have any powers or anything, as we know. So she's not necessarily the most qualified or most logical to go into space, but they know that she's going to go in anyway, and she's obviously in one of the pods already, so there's really no point in telling her not to because she's already there. So the whole entire idea is that they end up doing that. In the meantime, we see back up in space that Sledge decides to summon one of his most powerful monsters, known as Greenzilla, who is this big monster that looks very similar to a Vivazord mixed with like a dinosaur, and it's like green, but it looks almost like a T-Rex mixed with a Vivazord or something like that. But like it's even freakier. It's very, very crazy, and it's something that I remember the Sentai doing, but I remember it doing it way later than it's doing it this time. It's fine though, but I feel like that was done way later in the Sentai. Not the point. Anyway. And that automatically is made giant. Like, there is no like smaller version of it. It's just big. So we only see it big. Anyway, following this, the Rangers obviously know that they have to. What happens is that they go into the Dino Charge Megazord, and they realize that they have to split up. They have to split into two separate groups. So Shelby and Tyler's on Morph at this point, by the way. Go into the Plesiosaur and go up into space to go save Kendall and Keeper, and also get the purple Energem, obviously, and the red Energem. In the meantime, the other 5 Rangers, and when I say 5, I'm referring to Ivan, Chase, Coda, Prince Philip, and Riley. Riley. Are back on Earth, and they have to fight off the Greenzilla monster. And they start off with like the normal combination with the Green Ranger Zord and the Chase's and Riley's Zords as arms. The reason why I'm not saying that the formations is because it's hard to remember every single formation. Anyway, that all happens and they're traveling up into space, the two of them. So that's all happening, and in the meantime, we find out that Sledge hopes to use the red Energem to power up his ship's lasers to destroy the Dino Charge Megazord, and if it would work, that would be the result. It would be destroyed. So anyway, what's happening is that they end up going up into space, and then Kendall's obviously on the spaceship, and so when she gets out, she knows that she has to find a way to disguise herself, because otherwise they're just going to capture her right away. So what she does is she puts on these special suits that allow her to be in disguise, and she does so, and it's like this yellow jumpsuit kind of thing, but like with a whole entire face padding thing. It's almost like like when you go when you're collecting honey from a hive, just to protect your face or whatever. So the whole entire idea is that, but it's like yellow. The idea is that then she's thought of as though she's a Vivek, but she's not, obviously, and she's asked to put the container that has the purple Energem away in a storage area. But the thing is that rather than just doing the job that they're making her do, she basically sneaks, puts her head inside the container, takes out the purple Energem, puts it into her pocket, and then just hands the box over to another Vivek. So it's no big deal. And the thing is that the Viveks don't even see her, because this is before they even come into the room. So it's no big deal. And the Wrench is the one that asks her to do it. And Wrench doesn't even realize that that's happening. So anyway, it's looking like that, and you may think to yourself, okay, so she's definitely being smart with that, and they still need to get the red Energem, but at least she has the purple Energem, so that's good. So that's all happening, and she's being asked to go bring Wrench's tools to a different location to help with setting up the red Energem in its place. And so she's brought along, and the thing is that she ends up resisting him at one point. Well, no, she doesn't end up resisting. What happens is that she gets to that area, and suddenly an alarm is triggered, and that's because Shelby and Tyler's, with the Plesiozord, end up docking on top of Sledge's ship. And when that happens, the alarm goes off. At that point, they end up questioning, wait a second, why, maybe you're not who we maybe you're not a Vivix or something like that. And at that point, they end up taking off the headpiece of the disguise, and it reveals to be Kendall. At that point, they end up putting her near the garbage area where they were planning on igniting a flame and burning out Keeper to begin with. So now they were going to burn out both of them. Well, it sounded like a simple enough solution. Keeper was already in cuffs, handcuffs. So it seemed like, okay, makes a lot of sense. And so at that point, they end up she ends up grabbing some like a container that has some material that's actually very dangerous that could actually put a hole in the ship. So she ends up grabbing it when they're about to be dumped into the garbage area, puts a hole in the ground, and then both Keeper and Kendall jump into that hole. Following this, they see like the more elite versions of the soldiers that Sledge has on his ship, the blue ones, and they end up fighting those guys, and it's looking. They're about to fight those guys, but the thing is that Keeper has handcuffs on, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the purple Energem begins to react. Kendall takes it out of her pocket, and suddenly she becomes the Purple Ranger. Yes, Kendall becomes the Purple Ranger. I've said this in the past with my summaries, and I knew this for months and months and months now. I'm not even joking about that. Like, I've known about it for so long, and I expected it from really, really early on, just because there has been any other female characters that are scientific that would make sense. Like, she was obvious. That's my opinion. I don't know if it was for you guys, but for me, I expected it. Anyway, anyway, that all happened, and it was a huge deal, obviously. Meanwhile, on Earth, they had to do different transformations. They had to do that version. They had to do the whole entire, Dino, the Pterodinosaur's Megazord, which has like the regular Dinosaur set up with like the the Pterazord on top of the Dinosaur's Megazord's back or whatever. And so there's that combination that has to go on. There's a bunch of different combinations. And they're trying to show up basically all the combinations they can do in this episode, just so that people get a sense of like, oh, they can do this and this and this and this and this, because they want to make people aware that like, oh, they really do have a variety of combinations. So it's looking all good, although they don't use the Ankylosaur at all in any of their combinations. I will tell you that much right now. Anyway, following this, they're still fighting it, and back on the ship. Anyway, the Rangers, when Keeper talks to he's like, "I knew from the beginning that you deserved it. It was just a matter of you showing that you deserved to be a Ranger. That was all it was, and as a result, she gained the power." Meanwhile, right at the same, not long after, right before he ended up actually speaking, Shelby and Tyler come into the room, and they hear him talking to her and him saying Kendall, and the Ranger's like, what? You're the Purple Ranger? So everyone's very much so shocked, but really happy at the same time. Like, no one's like upset. Everyone's very happy to know that she's the Purple Ranger, and it makes a lot of sense after all, because she's the one that's been looking the most, and she's the one that's been the most devoted to getting a Ranger to become the Purple Ranger. So, kind of works, kind of. So, obviously, that's a perfectly fine thing. And in the meantime, the Rangers are, Keeper, Kendall, and Shelby want to go back and, help the other Rangers deal with Greenzilla. But in the meantime, Tyler knows that he needs to get the Red Energem first of all, and second of all, if he doesn't get the Red Energem, then the Downcharge Megazord is going to be destroyed. So he needs to get it, and the others have to go help Keeper get back, and just in general, they have to help the other Rangers. The problem, and so the thing is that Tyler goes off to deal with getting the Red Energem. In the meantime, you might remember that there was that robot that was supposed to get the Energems before. Well, in this case, it's looking again, and Tyler is trying to get it himself. Well, the thing is that Sledge comes out of nowhere, and he attacks Tyler. He doesn't hurt him badly, but he attacks him. And right when Sledge is about to shoot off a missile to destroy the Downcharge Megazord, it seems that robot from before managed to take the Red Energem out. So, very quick action, and he manages to do it, allowing the missile to not have any power, actually. So, when he does it, nothing happens. Following this, Tyler gets his Red Energem, he morphs, and we suddenly see, Tyler fighting Sledge. Sledge ends up falling on the navigation system, and the navigation system fails and is completely damaged. So, at that point, Tyler has to find a way to escape. He sees an escape pod, but the problem is that one of the Vivixes already got to the last escape pod, so he's kind of in trouble. So the only thing he can do is fall out of the ship. So he does so. He actually just, free falls out of the ship, and he's about to, and so that's all happening. And in the meantime, Sledge's ship crash lands, and basically, you see a massive explosion. And in the meantime, Tyler thinks that he's going to end up crash landing, and that will be the end of him. But fortunately for him, Tyler gets saved by the Terrazord. So, and then all the Rangers rejoice when they're all together. And finally, we see the conclusion of the fight, which is the combination of the Dino-Char, of the T-Rex Zord, the Plesio Zord, and the Pocky Zord combined together to create the T-Rex, Pocky, Plesio formation or something like that. I believe that's right. And it's a really awesome formation, and it's really, really cool, and it's nice to see that they finally had that combination going. And we get to see all 8 Rangers that we've so far met in the show together. And it's a really nice thing to see all 8 of them. And they get to use all sorts of special abilities and attacks, and it's a really great conclusion. And they destroy Greenzilla, they shoot him up into the sky, and he explodes. So it's all really good. Following this, though, we end up seeing the Rangers back in their bases, talking to each other, rejoicing, and putting away their Energems into the areas where they can just put them, and they'll stay there to get charged or whatever. So they end up talking in the end, and they end up saying that most of the Rangers can go back and do it, can now live their lives, and if they ever need, and if Kendall, Keeper, or Coda ever need them again, or even Ivan ever need them again, then all they have to do, then they will be called upon, but otherwise they can live their lives as they please. So the 4 of them stay in the base while, who is it now? Chase goes back to New Zealand. Tyler decides that he wants to go in search of his father, which makes sense because he's still doing that. And Shelby doesn't really have many plans. So the thing is that Tyler says to her, "Hey, you want to come along with me on a ride in my, in my car?" And she's like, "You know what? Sure." And so they end up joining each other. Then following this, the last member that is let free is Riley. And Riley, he was supposed to go. He doesn't really say where he was supposed to go, but he doesn't really have a set plan in mind. And Tyler's like, "Hey, you want to go along too?" And so the 3 of them come together. At that point, we hear Riley talking about his thoughts on where he thinks the other 2 Energems are, and he mentions how remember how the Infiltration was located in that cave-like place, maybe it's near there. And so they end up talking for a little bit, and then it cuts to this scene inside of Sledge's ship, which, as you might remember, Sledge's ship was, destroyed practically, and, it was in shambles. I mean, there was still some material intact, and like a good portion of it was still intact, but suddenly we see the doors of part of the ship opening up, and we hear this voice of a monster speaking. Now, I'll tell you this much: it's not Sledge's voice, it's not Poisandra's voice, it's not Fury's voice, and it's not Wrench's voice, and it's not Curio's voice. It's a different monster, and it's a monster that apparently sounds like he is going to take over, possibly as the person in charge for the next season. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true. It might not be, but maybe this is implying that Chaos, which is what I've been assuming might be the next villain, is gonna take over as the leader on the evil side of the the villains, basically. And if I'm right, I'm gonna be really, really interested, because I'm not necessarily saying happy, but just interested, because personally I expected it like a few weeks ago, and I've been saying that for the past couple of weeks now, that I was expecting that to be what they would do, that they would have Sledge disappear. Now, because they haven't actually confirmed that Sledge was destroyed entirely, what I feel might happen, and don't hold me to this, because they only showed his eye at first, so I just want to mention that to you for that monster. But what I'm feeling what might happen is either Sledge may show up like midway through or a couple episodes in to return, or he might show up towards the very end of the show, and they might just have him return and join alongside whoever the new villain is that takes over. Personally, I don't know if any of the other guys, if Curio, if Poisandra, if Wrench, or Fury even survived the crash, or what. And if they didn't survive it, then who else will be, a villain in the next season? See, that's really what I'm curious about, because it's really not clear as to what's going to happen then, and where is the secret base? Where's the base going to be left, and how is it going to look? See, there's so many questions now about the villain side, like the Rangers. It's like, oh, it's more or less a matter of like knowing how they'll return to like helping fight whoever's the new villain. But at the same time, with the ship crashed, you have to wonder what they're going to do. And I'll tell you this much right now: the opening is going to look very different since the ship fell down to the earth and got destroyed practically. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that's going to work out, and it's definitely going to be a very different season than this season. So I'm actually really looking forward to that, because this season was, since they crashed it this season, Dino Supercharge is going to be so, I'm really curious how they're going to make it work. And that's one of the things that's really great, is that it completely doesn't seem like it's going to be the same season at all. It feels like it's going to be very different, and I'm just personally very excited, and I'm glad that they decided to do what they did. And just in general, I love this. Now, I'll tell you this right now, probably the day after, probably the day after I release this video, I will most likely have another video up basically doing my final thoughts on the overall show, and just telling you guys what I thought about it. Like, do I consider this a great show, a bad show? How do I consider it in regard to previous Power Rangers seasons in relation to this? And I'll do an analysis of each character, and I'll do all that very soon. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it was a long review, and that's also because it was a really good episode, and there was a lot of content in this, and it was a great video. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Did you guys love this episode? Did you guys hate it? Was there something that you wish had happened? Was there something that was missing? What did you guys think? I would love to know in the comments. Please remember to leave your comments below, and I will see you guys next time. So bye bye, guys.